Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody. It's GoNob Radio. I'm your host, Aaron. And, of course, it's Monday, which means we are blessed by a visit from publisher of the InternationalForecaster.com, the legendary Bob Chapman. Woohoo, Bob.
You make me feel old, and I am.
That wasn't the intent. I'm sorry. Okay, Bob, you're my main man, Money. We're gonna talk it up. What's up, Money? I'm just gonna call you Money from now on because that's what you are to me. What's up, Money?
Well, we had I had two things happening today. We're going to talk about the market first, and then I got a letter here. Just came in from Greece, and you want to hear about that too. I'll read it to you. But this morning was a classic of criminality. Classic criminality. And the Standard & Poor's said that if the U.S. government didn't get its act together and start cutting back all these deficits, that they may have to drop their rating, which is AAA. And they also said they're putting the status, the graded status of the credit rating on negative watch. Now, at 3 o'clock this morning, I looked at the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note. Now, on Friday, it was 350. This morning, it was 324. That's a real big jump, about 25 basis points. Doesn't happen very often. Somebody knew what was coming down. The announcement had not been made. And they were already shoring up the bond market. Who were they? Guess who? Your government. And the people who control your government, from Wall Street and banking. And so that's who it was. Your government and the other entities are run by a criminal syndicate. Don't ever forget that. And for those of you who don't know who I am, I spent 29 years in Wall Street. I own my own brokerage firm. I was the largest gold silver stockbroker in the world. And I retired. And I've been publishing the International Forecaster for 22 years or so. So I've been around over 50 years. So that makes my opinion a real professional one. Doesn't mean I'm right, but you got it from a pro, not somebody who's gaggling and guessing, who has never been a broker or a commodity broker, or someone who is not specialized in economics, finance, business for a lifetime. And I say that because some of these newsletter writers don't know from a hole in the ground, and that's for sure.
This is where the alternative media is coming in, because it's really quite clear to a large percentage of our population, worldwide really, that the mainstream media morons, as certain radio personality titles it, is correct. And you're an example of a high-quality source of alternative media. And because they, any of these rating agencies, Moody's, Berkshire's Moody's, or S&P, do people really put that steadfast credibility in them, anything that they say anymore? I don't think so. I think people are looking for
you even got Forbes, Barron's, the Wall Street Journal. All you're getting is the mainline gobbledygook. I mean, these are the publications that own the publications.
Yeah.
But the newsletter writers, most of them aren't any better. I mean, they come up with sensationalized crap, hoping people will listen to them and subscribe to their publication or buy their DVDs or books or whatever they're doing. And that is giving people an awful lot of misinformation. And I've been observing it now, particularly over the last 5 years. And, everybody makes mistakes, and that's okay. But most of these people make mistakes all the time. We get 96% of letter writers who have been calling for a major correction in gold and silver for 5 years. They've been wrong every single call. I mean, don't people get it? They're goners. All of you who don't speak Yiddish out there, a gonef is a jerk. And I'm one of the few. Listen, I am one of the few Christians in this world who speak Yiddish. And the reason why is I worked on a vegetable truck when I was a little kid, and the man was Jewish, and I loved him dearly. He was a great man, even though he was a peddler of vegetables. And he insisted I learn Yiddish, and he told me he was going to make me have a Yiddishkopf, and to think like a Jewish person. And I thank him for that, because it gave me great training in the business world.
Right. And this is the exact same thing that Berkshire Hathaway's, said in his book, if you read it. He wanted to go to a particular academy, a school, to learn about finance, etc., and it was a Jewish male-only admission policy. Okay, this is not me talking. This is the guy who owns that thing.
Warren Buffett?
Yeah. And he persuaded them to let this Gentile in, Buffet, and he got his education, and he got that mindset you're talking about. This is not me. It's in his book if you want to read it, okay? But this is what we're talking about in general about this whole thing from my point of view. And there's another example. There's your personal example, and there's another example of it. It's a good thing to work into your equation, whoever you are, to work that in there.
You got to have an open mind. Otherwise, you remain mindless for the rest of your life. Anyway, let me read this to you. This is for the International Forecaster for today. I haven't finished it yet, but
cool.
Monday saw the S&P tell the government that if Congress does not get serious about cutting deficits, that they lose their AAA rating, and the U.S. was put on negative watch. Early on, before the COMEX opening, gold traded minus 110 to minus 530. Silver was plus 23 to 36 cents during that time period. 1.5 hours after COMEX opened, the S&P news came and gold rallied to plus $9.30 and silver to 55 cents plus. The government then attacked the market and knocked it down to below even. It was about minus $2 on the gold and about 10 cents on the silver. And the market manipulation is absolutely disgusting. And the Treasury and the Fed don't care who knows it. They are so blatant. This is in longhand, so you got to work with me on this. From the open, the gold and silver shares were off small, but then by noon Eastern Daylight Time, they were down 1.5% to 2%. At the same time, the 10-year note, and I explained that. And what the upshot is gold's up 11.20 right now, and silver's up 67 cents. The point here, and you've got to listen to this, your government is so corrupt, it's beyond redemption. This is a criminal syndicate. And this is inside information which they create. Now, who runs the Treasury and who runs the Fed? J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, and on and on. Do you know why they have 3 months of trading every business day and never have a losing day? And that's a fact. Why? Because they're criminals. They don't give anybody a chance to make anything. How do I know that? I was a professional trader for 25 years. And if I was right 55% of the time, I thought I was really smart, and I made a lot of money. So that's the gravity of what's going on here. Then what else did they do? They took oil down $3. They took the commodities down. They tried to bring the losing end of the stock market back down. It was off 250. It's off 183 right now. And the S&P is equal, and the NASDAQ's down a lot more. So they concentrated on keeping the market up, getting the bond market up, which they started at 3 o'clock in the morning, when all sane people are sleeping except for me. They attacked gold and silver and the commodity market as the antithesis of the bad news that's coming on the dollar. Yeah. And then they rigged the dollar market. The dollar's up 0.62 on the USDX.
That's the
this is blatant criminality.
Right,
I want everybody to hear that loud and clear.
All right, first, thanks, Bob, for the preview of the upcoming international forecaster coming out on Wednesday here on the show. Appreciate that. All right, number one, yeah, I saw that. I saw, what the heck is the dollar doing up, at least on the spot market, up 0.6 to 0.7 in this environment? And then I'm looking, gold makes its first, when I got up this morning, gold was up like $5 or $6. Silver was down like 30 cents. And I was all, wow, finally we have a day where gold is outshining everything. That's very interesting. And then I went over to the CME website, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Now this is a change too. The spot market is down, but the CME is up, and there's a huge amount of trading on the May contract, man. I mean, there's like 127,000 contracts traded so far or something. I've lost the site, actually. It's gone offline. I don't know what's up with it. It's not coming through. The site's crashing. The CME Group's site silver thing is crashing. It's offline. They're not quoting anything is what I'm getting. Bob, this is weird. The CME is up like 30, 40 cents, but the spot market is only up 13 cents. What's going on with that?
If you can handle it, the CME, the COMEX, CME owns the COMEX, is a criminal enterprise. They work with the government. The SEC and the CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Corporation, agencies of the United States government, work with the government. They don't give a flying fiddler's foo dang about you public out there, whether you're a garbage collector or an investor. They don't care. I mean, that was shown up in QE 1 and 2 and Stimulus 1 and 2, because the public got virtually nothing. And all the banks were saved, the brokerage firms, the insurance companies, transnational corporations were giving goo-gobs, billions of dollars. Some of them didn't even need it, and so they could gamble and run the markets back up again.
Right.
And make piles of money. Well, the public lost their derrieres.
Yeah, because the public is debt slavery. It comes down to debt slavery. They're like, okay, we'll buoy the system, but you're going to owe us. And you means the tax-paying public, okay? So that's what it comes down to. And then they throw on top the police state just to keep everybody more in line. So they do what they're supposed to do because you owe us. You're in debt to us. And that's the overall thing we got going here. And it's not that bad because they could turn it into Bolshevism where they got everybody killing each other. They could ratchet this thing up. There's still plenty of ratcheting up that can be done here, but that's where we're at right now. And I'm getting an error message on the CME Silver page. It's saying an error occurred while processing. It's not loading. CME must be going into meltdown right now. I've got no quotes coming through on any of the contracts. This is just in the past 10 minutes.
The May contract's up 72 cents right now.
Up 72 cents?
I'm looking right at it.
My
And the June contract, I just saw it up 11.30 on gold.
How much? What's the volume?
They're trying to keep what's going on in the market away from the players. Now, obviously, there are systems that are up and working. I mean, the 10-year is 3.38, 3.38%. This morning it was 3.24. Friday it was 3.50. Here's gold, 14.97.30, up 11.30. Silver, 42.25, up 68.
Okay, well,
but this is, they do anything they want. There are no rules. Nobody goes to jail. I've been writing about this for 22 years. I made copious complaints for the last 30 years to the SEC. They totally ignore me. In fact, they've tried to destroy me.
My point is that it seems like to me that the market's okay. It's coming back now. The website's back up. It's 135,000 contracts on the May right now trading. That's huge. That's like 2 or 3 times what you'd expect at this time of day, Bob.
Your government in action, baby.
Wow, that's incredible.
And they want our citizens to defend our country and invade foreign countries, spend 26% of our budget and budget deficit on military. That's more than any other item. Why? It's the
I answer you.
industrial complex. It's got to make money. These people are merchants of death.
Yes.
And they get away with it. And the public has got to stop it. And the only way they can do it is through Congress and through the courts.
Yeah.
And the courts are bought and paid for, and so is in Congress. So that leaves you with 17. That leaves you at 1788. 1789 was the year of the French Revolution. Do I have to draw you any pictures?
No. I mean, listen. There's some character named Poop. Does a show called Financial Nonsense or something like that. A total idiot, in my opinion, who called. I'm going to call him stupid. Poop is stupid because he, a couple months ago, called Max Keiser stupid on his show with some other guy, Silver Dash investor. I can't remember what his name was, some nut scrub. And they were dead wrong if you listen to their advice. And Max Keiser's been right. His plan is working. People all over the world are buying silver, pushing it up, putting the pressure on these banks who need to be driven down. They're saying, well, you don't want to destroy Chase Manhattan and all these. No, yes, you do. Yes, you do, because they're a criminal enterprise. We can't get to them through the ballot box or through Congress or through the courts because they've got that all rigged. But we can get them this way. And this is where Max Keiser seized on it, and the audacity of people like Silver Dash Investor and this Poop character at Financial Nonsense saying that calling Max Keiser stupid. No, he's as sly like a fox, man. He got the plan, and it's working. And look at the price of silver, man, okay? And so he's got a solution, and I applaud that. And Max Keiser's also going on European TV all over the place, spreading the word. He's doing a great job, man. He's really one of the top guys like you, Bob, and maybe almost like one of those lesser characters that runs that, I don't know, I can't remember the name of it, but he's kind of looks like Charlie Brown. That guy, kind of overweight, chubby. I always call him chubby. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you know, Max has got a background of years in the brokerage business. And that doesn't mean every broker understands what Max does and has had his kind of success, or mine either. But you cannot understand markets unless you've been in them as a professional.
Right.
You cannot understand war until somebody shoots at you. You cannot understand war until you're walking through hundreds and hundreds of corpses that have been laying there for days and are putrid. And the smell gets into your senses, and you never, ever get rid of the smell. That's what makes people experts on how to be successful. In the case of war, it's surviving. And that's why the book All Quiet on the Western Front was such a magnificent piece. I think it was written by Eric Remakwa, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, away from that, it shows you what these people are doing. And you people who own stocks and commodities and mutual funds out there, you get on to your congressman and say, I am not going to tolerate the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve manipulating the markets every day and stealing my money. Get rid of the executive order signed by Ronald Reagan probably when he was half out of it, because he was deteriorating badly the last year he was in office with Alzheimer's disease, and that's too bad. But
holding his hand for him when he signed the document, no doubt.
Well, that's probably could be true, but the point is, it's got to be rescinded. We can't allow wealthy thieves to steal everything in this country and then subject us to slavery. We cannot allow that.
There's a price to be paid.
Let me read you this piece. This just came in from Greece. The latest and details have and you got to forgive the first language not being English. Some more details have emerged about what Papandreou signed for the Troika. That's a group. The utility, water, electric, and phone service are part of the deal, and they would give up about 70% ownership, controlling interest, to this Troika. And it includes 29 airfields, Egnatia Avenue, which is a central highway connecting all of Greece. A toll road would be turned over to them. There are also other undisclosed as yet commitments of mineral assets in Greek territories. Now, for those of you who don't know, off the coast of Greece, there's gobs of oil. Interesting, huh? And that's why the Turks are always over there. They like to take over Greece and take over that part of the Mediterranean and start drilling the heck out of it. All right, further. The Ovuli, which is their, I think it's the House of Representatives, will get to vote on all of this after Easter. It is said that some of Papandreou's representatives, we'll call them, will not go along with this deal. And he's 20 votes short already. If that vote declines, in other words, if Papandreou doesn't win, he will call elections. And I think that's terrific. His father was Andras, was president for a long time. He was a Marxist. Marxism was created and financed from Wall Street and the City of London, for those of you who don't know real history.
And they weren't Filipinos, by the way.
What's that?
Nothing. Go on, Bob. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's see here. So he's going to call elections. He'll get voted out, especially after I was on radio and television in Greece and in the newspapers telling these people what these people are up to. And the head of the, and I can't remember his name, the head of the Greek Orthodox Church, for better or for worse, uses the International Forecaster as their advisor. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
meanwhile, the opposition...
Right? He gets the contrary.
Well, they subscribe to, we're fair with everybody. We don't omit people because we don't like them. Maybe they'll change their ways.
Tell him to come on the show.
Meanwhile, the opposition...
on GoNob Radio. I've been leveling attacks against his family. Let him come on here and rebut my claims against his family.
Well, you have to send him a note and say, "Gee, I'd like to have you on the program. We want your side of the viewpoint here."
Yeah,
and I think that's fair. You're perfectly happy to do that. Okay, here we go. Okay. Meanwhile, the opposition leader, Mr. Samaras, and some of his representatives are crisscrossing all of Greece, educating the public to what's going on. They are setting the stage for after Easter. In the unlikely event that they approve the commitments, it is said that there will be great trouble. Speculations are all over the place as to what that means. And, of course, we all know what that means. Something interesting, one of Mr. Papandreou's guys, the Minister of Health, Mr. Lambertos, was attacked by a mob of 20 to 30 young people who got to him with tomatoes and yogurt. And they also got a few kicks in while the police saved him. His bodyguards are in critical condition. Oh, boy. Pharmacies in Athens are closed since they don't get paid anymore. And people have to go to Piraeus to get drugs. And of course, those are illegal drugs. The political opposition is hoping to find a peaceful solution to all this, though through the political process. We will see how it plays out. Meanwhile, back at the ranch in Brussels, the Troika guys are saying that even though the Greeks have followed their directions, and incidentally, the Greeks reduced the public debt as a percentage of GDP from 16%, I think, to 8%. Large.
Already?
And that's not good enough for these guys. See, these guys, they want to steal everything.
Right.
This is what it's all about.
Right.
So the Greeks have followed their directions and established laws by them as directed. And they say the laws are not being followed as directed. That's the excuse of the people from Brussels and the IMF, of course. The Greeks were told that they would have to pay back this loan with interest in a few years by 2015, and they will need to repay 70 billion euros from what they will get now. And if they fail, Troika takes possession of assets on collateral to be liquidated. It is clearly a Greek tragedy. And I hear this news and I think I am watching a movie from 50 years ago, like the stories my father used to tell from the 1920s and 30s that he lived through in Greece. And but I thought you would find that interesting. This is the kind of intelligence that we get, and it's mostly from younger people. I mean, people between 21 and 50. And that's really good because they understand the system's been corrupted and they want to do something about it.
Okay, I want to chime in here for a second, Bob, if I could.
Sure.
Here's what we got here, and it's the same thing in Ireland, by the way, what's going on in Greece, same thing. Here's what happened. They sold the people on this socialism and the entitlement because you're a great old culture, you deserve the socialism, and you're going to have, I remember I had Irish guys telling me that were coming over here to America. They would say, hey, I got my paycheck coming, I got from the government in Ireland, yet I'm over here in America working, under the table type of thing. I got all this thing going for me, all this great society type stuff. But then, tick, 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 it's like it doesn't last forever. And that's the that's the Rubik's Cube they play on you. The central bankers, they get you going, and they say, hey, this is great, and then all of a sudden they bring the hammer down. And they say, okay, well, now it comes time to pay for your great society, and we're going to take your main thoroughfares, and we're going to take this, and we're going to take that, and we're going to own that. And then after we own that, we're going to start telling you other stuff to do. We're going to say, you can't have this, and you can't do this. You can't have a baby. You're going to do this, what we say, because based on the fact that we own all this over here. And that's how they play it. So this whole thing of socialism, communism, these Marxist philosophies done by people who are not from India, and they're put it on you, and you go with it, and then they reel you in, baby. It's like bait in the water, and they reel you in. So I just want to say on that. second thing, which you just mentioned, young people. Yes, thankfully the programming hasn't completely set in, and they have a natural BS. And another thing I want to say is I started searching GoNob Radio on Google last night to put the links into my website wherever GoNob Radio was. And you know what are happening? This is going out to my affiliates. Whenever you put a YouTube video of Bob Chapman or any of the on YouTube, what happens is other people find it and they put it in blogs and bulletin boards all over the world. I got GoNob Radio with Bob Chapman in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, China. You can find the videos. It's a perfect way of doing it. It's people can listen, and they can better than they can read a lot of times. And so you've got my radio show through your affiliate channel on YouTube spread out by other people who pick it up and embed it in blogs all over the world. And I was like, my hands fell off last night. I was trying to copy and paste all the links. There are thousands of them. My radio show was all over the world in blogs and forums where people could find it in every country in the world. Okay? That's what we're doing. So we are making a difference. I'm doing it in my small, tiny little way, like I've enumerated. Bob is doing it in a huge way. He's going all over the world and talking. Max Kaiser's going all over the world and talking. So the awareness is brought up. And then there's people like Charlie Brown who bringing up the awareness here in America. So this is good. But ultimately, action must be taken. So if they're throwing tomatoes and putting a few kicks to the ribs, I like that. That's action. Thank you for letting me talk.
We're killing them.
Yeah.
As Alex Jones says, we're breathing down their necks, and they don't know what to do because of the alternative of talk radio and the Internet. And they are, I'm telling you, a good example. You know, when Glenn Beck got fired.
Who are you talking about?
When Glenn Beck.
No.
Glenn Beck.
No. Before that, you mentioned somebody?
Oh, Alex Jones.
Never heard of him. You're probably one of the guys who's ripping off all my material. I heard somebody, sounds like that, was talking about how women control the world. A topic I was talking about 2-3 months ago with you on my channel. I heard some character like maybe Thursday or something. I can't remember. He was saying exactly the same thing. That's why I deleted my other blog talk because I don't want like people fishing through my past radio shows for material to use on their show.
Well,
basically plagiarizing me.
Aaron, you're right. They do. And I am the most plagiarized writer in the entire world by leagues. And example, in the Beltway in Washington, within 5 minutes of my publication coming out, everybody who wants it in Washington has it. That's D.C. Every embassy and every consulate has it. All the top people in the embassies read it because they want to find out what's going on and what the other half thinks.
Yeah.
And now we've got the charlatans writing and on radio who are copying stuff that people like Max and I and Paul Craig Roberts and other people who are economists, people who are real professionals, are doing. And I really don't mind that too much. But what I do mind when people think that they're experts and they have never, ever done anything like myself or the other men I mentioned. And it's become like a plague. A plague. It's awful. In order to sell books or publications or DVDs or whatever it is. It's very disconcerting. If they were all correct all the time, I don't think I'd mind too much. But a lot of disinformation being put out. And they do it to grab people's attention so that they can sell their publication or whatever they're doing. And it's causing a lot of trouble. Anyway, getting back to Glenn Beck, to show you how terrified the other side is. And they better be terrified because we're coming after them. Glenn Beck was fired because they felt he went too far by having G. Edward Griffin on. And Griffin has been a friend of mine since 1964, and a good friend. And we've known each other all those years. So they attacked Beck for that, for Ed telling the truth. And then Soros comes out with that thing he's got, media, whatever it is, and he attacks Ed. Now, if he was smart, he wouldn't say anything, because his media doesn't reach enough people to make a difference. But now that he's done that, he's made an absolute fool of himself. And it also shows how desperate these people are. They're afraid we're going to win. And that's why they listen to all the shows that I'm on and many others are on. And they want to find out what we're talking about and how we're being effective. And that's understandable. It's counterintelligence. And it will continue. But the point is this, and it's a very powerful point. We're getting to them. And we're getting to them big time. So all you people out there who aren't doing your part by driving your representatives and your senators and your president crazy with emails, and keep them down to 1 or 2 or 3 lines and that's it. I don't like such and such. Don't do it. Or something like, the Fed and the Treasury are rigging the markets. I want it stopped now. That's all you have to do. And send thousands and thousands of them. Drive them crazy. They're all paid off. They're criminals. That's what campaign contributions are all about.
Yeah.
I mean, firms like Goldman Sachs give away over $1 billion. $1 billion. And there's hundreds of thousands of companies like that giving away big-time money. And this guy, he'll run for the Senate or the House. He'll have $50 million to run with. And he loses. And there's $20 million left. He gets to keep it. Such a deal.
It is. Like, hey, this is what I'm saying. Democracy works if you take it, if you have the right spirit. But if you're willing to corrupt it, it's corruptible, and they've done it. And this is what they want to spread all over the world, this form of where it's paid off. So what really is it? It's a falsehood. I think they should just make all elections just basically open it up to C-SPAN. That will be the only place where you can go. Just eliminate it all the way. Do it basically public television. Make a channel for it or something like that. Take the money element out, because now it's getting to the point where only people like Donald Trump can come up there. And I heard what your words about it. Here's my piece on him. I like what he's talking about, the rationale of, hey, we should get something out of what we're expending. I think that's rational, to balance the books that way. It is stealing, though. It is taking something from somebody else by force, which is terrible. So can't explain it that way. And he does have that way of dealing nose to nose with China. Now, I've had a little bit of experience. Yeah, they play hardball businessmen now. That they come up. They want to play hardball with you. They want to compete with you and everything like that. And so anything goes. And so it does take that kind of approach that he's putting forth there. But I also heard him talk about it. It sounds like he's almost like a John Bolton Zionist, which I'm not in favor of. So that's the mixed bag on him. I still favor, after hearing him a little bit more, I'm still Ron Paul all the way, because he is calling for end the Fed, and that's the most important thing to get done. If we can achieve that, then we're on the way to liberation. Otherwise, it's going to just be more of the same until somebody takes decisive action, a group of men, like a reverse Bolshevik group, to come through and clean house on the existing power structure that has existed for the past 300 years, in my opinion.
Well, I think Ron Paul's running mate could well be Jesse Ventura. And I think that would be a winning combination.
Yeah, it's interesting.
If they don't murder them first.
Yeah, and matter of fact, I may be on the air in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities, this month. I don't know. We might be talking to those Jesse Ventura former constituents on a daily basis. I'm not sure, but that wouldn't be bad. Or if Trump would take a vice presidential position, just be there for the financial support, so Ron Paul could have his kitty there for sure. That might be another route too. I don't like how Ventura backed down after that Cohen, South Carolina senator or whatever, put the screws to him for exposing his. Remember that show that they basically came down on that show that was about the FEMA camps. I think that guy Charlie Brown was involved in that show or something like that. I didn't like how he backed down off of that. I don't know. Listen, the founding fathers put it all on the line. They had families, they had property, they had all kind of stuff to lose. They said, forget it. I'm putting it right. Look at Andrew Jackson. You know how many duels that guy fought? He took a bullet in the chest. He lived with a slug, a .45 caliber ball, in his chest cavity for like 20 years of his life. You know what he did? I don't know. You probably know. You probably respect Andrew Jackson, but he's my favorite president. He had a duel with a guy. He let him say. He said, hey, "Take first shot, man." The guy took first shot, blasted Jackson in the chest at like 30 paces or whatever. And so there is Jackson with a .45 caliber ball in his chest. And so what does he do? He says, okay, you got your first shot. Now I'm going to take my shot. And he put it right between the guy's eyes and sent him to paradise. Now that's a man. That's a founding father. Okay? We need people like that, not scaredy cats that run off to wherever. And I'm afraid that's just what it's going to take. All right? The founding fathers are the model. Okay? I don't care if they were slaveholders or whatever. That has nothing to do with it. They had an idealism. They put it down on paper, and people have been trying to erode it. We need to go back to the source, man. Those are real men back in those days. Andrew Jackson, man, he's incredible. He was an incredible figure in history, in my opinion.
You want to tell you an interesting story how I found out how incredible he was. My son was doing a high school project, and he had to pick somebody. So I went to the library and looked through these books with him, and I started reading about Andrew Jackson. I never knew all these things. So I got the books and brought them home, and I said, that's the guy you want to write about. And that he did, and he got an A on it. I was very happy about that. And but that's how I found out about the sterling character of Andrew Jackson.
He kicked British ass, man. And they tried, of course, you know that he was a so-called wacko mental case from England, tried to assassinate Andrew Jackson with 2 pistols. They both misfired on him. The chances of that happening. In the public street, the guy fired 1 pistol. It fizzled, because they're ball and cap type black powder guns. He says, oh, okay, well, I got my backup. That fizzles too. And so he's left there with 2 defunct pistols trying to assassinate the president. So Andrew Jackson doesn't fall on the ground like a sissy or something like that. He attacks that guy with his cane. That's all he had, and he beat the crap out of him with his cane. Now this is the way these people used to be back in the old days. They had to have that mana to rise up against this evil that was King George and these, when Rothschilds was really just getting his first entrenchment in the city of London in England and that type of thing. And so we still have this paradigm today. And so that's what we're up against. And they're very sneaky. And I think Lyndon LaRouche, go back to these old-timers, mature gentlemen, let's say, like yourself, Lyndon LaRouche, others. I mean, Lyndon LaRouche, with respect to the effect that the UK has, United Queendom, actually. Another topic. Oh, I want to say one other thing, Bob. I'm sorry. People are going to be pissed off. Let Bob speak. I just want to say this. There's so much I wanted to come up with. I had been talking.
Yeah, but that's okay. I got to rest once in a while.
Okay, thank you, Bob. But check this out. Now, I had also on my previous shows, going back, talked about how it's a queendom. There is no king. There hasn't been a king in the so-called United Kingdom for like over 50 years. It's a queendom. In fact, it's a queendom. It has been run by a queen for over 50 years. Last time they did have a king, he abdicated his throne so he could go bang some American divorcee woman in France. These are just just the facts. So it is really a queendom. And we had talked about this before, how the women take over the world in a sly way. And this is a way the women, they're like, okay, take the king and give him some good ass and lure him over there to France and bang his brains out. Meanwhile, the women will take over the world. And presently that's what we have. If we have a queendom, it's the United Queendom. So now here it is. It was on Drudge Report over the weekend. They're going to change the law in England so that a woman could ascend to the throne. It doesn't have to go like king down. It could be king or queen. So in fact, there will come a day, and I was the first person in the world to point this out publicly, like I have about other things, that it will be called the UQ, mate. It'll be called the United Queendom. It'll be a vice versa, depending upon who's in office. So that's what we're going to come a day when it will be called the UQ, mate. I'm just reminding people of how I was right again. And the reason why I'm right is because I have good influences like Bob Chapman, because I don't know everything, and so I defer to him on a lot of stuff.
Well, I thank you. And I'm watching the stock market while you're talking, and they're bringing it back like gangbusters. They just can't let anything normal happen. It has to be over normal or subnormal, whatever you want to call it. And they get the Dow is only off 148, and it was off 257. And they're going to bring it back down close to even, maybe off 50 or 100.
At the end of the day, right?
And this is what goes on all the time. We can't have an economy, we can't have free markets unless they're really free. This is corporate
back to the idealism
fascism
of the Founding Fathers. No, we don't. The Founding Fathers have been replaced by another group of people. Okay, it's a different mentality. I'm calling it the monkey shine, the Brotherhood of Monkey Shine, monkey shineism. Okay, this is who is, and that's the way they play, man. It's an ugly way, Let them play it in their own monkey shine ville, but it's not good for anybody else. And I think the Asians know this. The monkey shines don't have a very good penetration into the Asian world. They know. They can smell a rat, and they don't let them get too far. And that's good for them because they'll survive it. But the Western Caucasian societies all over the world, they're infused. They're infected with this parasite, and they are so blind to it, and they are powerless at this point to stop it due to stupidity, ignorances, and these sort of alliances, these oxymoronic alliances they make with the Monkey Shine group. It's just, I see it. It doesn't fool me, but it fools them. And so they're going to be doomed to it. And this is, it's hard to explain this to people, and so they don't want to see it. And it doesn't help if you, marry into them as well. That also ultimately will lead you off target.
Well, people don't like change. It's part of being human. Adversity or being adverse to change. It's a human trait. And you have to discipline yourself to accepting changes. But again, most people can't do that. And that's why, people get laid off from their job and they don't get another job quickly, and they just throw their hands in the air and try to find a way to live off the system and just kind of lope along for the rest of their lives. That's why you get the. That's why you get the kind of. No, that's all right. That's why you get the kind of response you get from people. It's normal for them not to change. And one must understand that.
Hey, Bob, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, sorry about that, man. My buddy was telling me that they hacked our router over the weekend. Like somebody reset all the parameters on it. So evidently, Pistons. I don't know. It's a coincidence. Having a little bit of phone problems here. So we're back online. I wanted to say a couple things. Number one, I heard Alex Jones say before you came on the show on Friday that Well, Bob Chapman's been having some technical difficulties on his phone, and if he doesn't get that straightened out, we're not going to be able to have him on for a while. That's the first shot across the bow between you. I think he's pissed off that you come on my show and everything because he knows that he's been using my stuff, and I undermine his credibility a little bit when I call him the show and expose him for his ignorances on certain little things, you know. But I still respect the guy a lot for his work, not the way he treats me, but that's what he said. So I hope that you don't have any technical difficulties because I hate to see that you be pushed off of the InfoWars because a lot of people listen to you there, man. And if you can't come on here because he puts those screws to you, no problem with me, dude. I would understand that.
Well, no one's ever said anything to me about my being on other programs because I do 40 different programs a week, and
cool.
So I don't think they'd really want to do that because I think people might be very unhappy if I wasn't on, no matter whose show it was on.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also the matter of ratings. My ratings are extraordinarily high. And so
people love you, Bob.
Anybody that has me on and then decides they don't want me anymore, I kind of, from a listener viewpoint, they're kind of cutting their own throats. But I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
but I was on there Friday with them. I upgraded my equipment, and it worked fine.
Good. Another thing, I came on the show and they put me on hold, and then they didn't put me on. But he announced my name. He said Aaron and everything like that. So that when you were on there Friday, I was on hold, but they didn't follow through and put me on the show. And I have been deleted. What I wanted to go on there, I want to say that when he does when Aaron Dykes transmits the show from Prison Planet over to the YouTube channel, they deleted 2 of my 3 calls to the show. They deleted me off the simulcast or the video record over there. So it's on, of course. I was talking. He answered me. It's on the podcast, but it's not been transcribed to video, so people can't see it there. They can't listen to me there. The guy who cries censorship does it to me. Okay, Aaron Dykes does it to me. I can factually prove that it's twice. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. The second thing is that very important I wanted to get into was the scars on Obama's head. This is really a big thing. I've got the pictures up on my Facebook.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. I couldn't believe it.
His skull has been
they would have had to cut into the skull cap. What were they doing in there?
Exactly. They chipped his ass, man. I believe they chipped his ass. Look he's got a huge scar running down his neck all the way. His head has been busted open like a jigsaw puzzle. What about that? The American people want to know about that now, too, I think. I mean, they should. What's happened to your brain, Obama? What happened to you, man? Not a word. Not even a word on InfoWars about this. That's why I wanted to call in and talk about that, put that on the table there, because he hasn't covered that at all, and I think that's significant. What do you say?
It could be. It could very well be. I think it's something that the White House should answer. I mean, did he fall down and break his skull or something when he was a child? I don't know. Or if they're not answering it, it's not good. That's for sure.
And all of his hospital records have been hidden, and of course, all of his records. We don't even know. This guy has more stuff hidden than anybody else, and this is just another example of it. And when you have Aaron Russo coming forward and saying that the Rockefellers' plan is to chip everybody, okay, and we have this Charlie Brown interviewing Aaron and talking about that, I think there is something there to be said. I mean, they do, and we had Aaron McCollum on, who has come from a family of MK Ultra. Now, he's been on my show several times and stuff like this, and he knows about what they're doing, how the CIA and Mossad and stuff, they have all this, the Pentagon and the military intelligence, all that stuff. They have all this stuff going on. There's that whole secret black ops world out there that exists, but and I think this is an example. They cracked open his skull, put the chips in there, and it's probably hooked into the teleprompter situation. I don't know. I think this guy's dangerous, man. We got to get this guy out. If this guy goes another 4 years, this country is really going to go down the tubes, man.
Well, They all take their orders from the same people.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. And so it doesn't matter who's in there. I mean, you saw the last buffoon that was in there. He was as bad as the one that's in there now. And these people are not that swift, believe me. But they control the whole setup so thoroughly, you know, through the House and the Senate, the executive, and then the judicial branches. There's very little you can do, you know, short of revolution.
Oh.
There's no recourse. You know, they won't listen to you. They will not listen to you.
Well, Bob, it's getting close to the end of the show here, unfortunately, and you've been very kind to let me really blow my top here today. I had a lot of stuff I want to talk about, get it out there on the show, and I want to really thank your patience with that. Can you please tell us about the International Forecaster?
It's about business, finance, economic, social, political issues all over the world. We publish on Wednesday and Saturday by email, runs around 40 pages each time, and we have a hard copy that goes out to those who are not on the Internet. And everything you need to know every week is in there. If you'd like to get a free introductory copy, you can go to theinternationalforecaster.com. Theinternational, FORECASTER.com. You can also go to www.intforecaster.com. That's intforecaster.com. Those of you who would like to send us a question, we answer everyone. Or if you'd like a copy, or if you'd like our latest recommendations for gold and silver shares, email me at Bob, that's B-O-B, at intforecaster.com. Bob at intforecaster.com. You can also call toll-free to 877-479-8178. That's 877-479-8178. And get a copy there. And also, they have an offer for a free one-year subscription. And the deal that they're offering is really terrific. And if you want to become a subscriber, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. I'd like to thank you very much to ProDerivative.com. He's our German affiliate. He's been doing an excellent job at covering Bob Chapman and some of the lesser guys who like say that gold should be 2,000 in 2010. He covers them too. I mean, I don't really listen to those times, but I tell you, ProDerivative.com covers Bob Chapman, all your shows, and he really gets it out there to the international audience. So it's a special thank you to ProDerivative.com, our German affiliate. And Bob, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show. I know you got a lot of other shows to do, and you're very punctual and prompt, and you're really a squared-away guy. I mean, you're very consistent. You're like a reliable 1911 Colt 45, man, model 1911. Man. You can throw that thing in the mud, pick it up, and blast someone. You know what I'm saying? You're the man.
Well, thank you very much. And I do have a model 1911 that's been totally accurized and tricked out. And I can hit somebody at a dead run 7 times before they hit the ground at 50 feet.
Woo! What is it, a gold cup?
And that's the truth. Believe me.
Yeah.
I've been in the guns for years.
Well, one thing before you go, Bob. I heard you on the Corbett show recently, and you went into something. I heard some rumor that you were on some other show before. Did you put a cap in somebody's ass before that was messing with you?
No.
Okay.
No. I had a home invasion robbery.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I did. I had one in Malibu of all places, and there were 3 people involved, and they all got shot.
And were they just scumbags from the street? You know, like any just.
I really don't
criminal?
know because it was dark, and their vehicle was right near my house, 50 feet away. And after I opened up, they were hit, but they still got to their car, and they got away, and the police never found them, and they were shot several times.
So you just saw these shadowy, dark figures in
your
house?
No, they tried to come through the front door.
Oh.
They knocked at the door, and I went and answered it.
Oh, they were like, hey, you got a pizza, sir, or something? And come in under some false pretenses. No,
they said they were with the police, and they were doing some work in the area, so don't, mind any unusual noises. And I looked at the guy, and I knew all the cops because I used to coach all their kids. So I know everybody in Malibu. I lived there for years. And so I turned to my wife, and I said, get me a gun. Of course, the guy didn't hear me. And the only thing that was laying out was a 380 auto. And I grabbed the guy by the throat and stuck the 380 down his throat, and knocking out a couple of his front teeth in the process. And he jumped back like, he'd been hit by like a cannon. And he turned to fire, and I shot him. And but he continued. I think they must have been on drugs. And he ran down to his car, and there was another guy, and he was about 30 feet away, and he started to fire, opened up on him, and I hit him. And then I ran out of ammo. And my son, who was 12 at the time, appears in the doorway. He said, Dad, you're out of ammo. And he threw me a 9mm Browning high power.
Yes.
And I shot the guy twice more with that. I turned around, and there's a guy trying to take out, I had two Mercedes in the garage, and he's trying to take one of the cars. And both cars have guns in them. So whether he wasn't armed when he went in there, he sure was when he come out. And I got the drop on this guy. And finally, he had his own weapon. Finally, he started shooting, and he ran at me, and I shot him twice. He kept right on going, like I never even hit him. But I saw the blood fly. And they get in their car. I blew out all the windows, firing at them. Because by that time, I had an AR-15, which my son had given me. So my wife had called the police. And 20 minutes later, the police arrived. I think they counted 38 shells that I'd fired. And it was like a war. And the police were never able to find these. And the reason it took them so long to get there was that the police were talking with one another. There was a sheriff's department and the California Highway Patrol. And the patrol was the closest. And they said, why didn't you take the call? And they said, I was on code such and such. And my son turns to me, he said, Dad, that's a coffee break. Because we knew all the police codes. And I thought the police were going to melt into the street. They felt so bad that these two goofuses wouldn't answer the call because they didn't want to get in the line of fire.
Right.
And I said to them, you guys disgust me. Get out of here. And I knew all the guys from the sheriff's department because I coached all their kids. But let it be a lesson to anybody. If they ever want to come to my house and try to rob me, they better bring a cannon with them.
Wow, that's incredible. What ethnicity were the assailants?
They were white. White kids in their, I'd say, mid-20s. Anywhere between 24 and 26.
Were they were they polished looking, like college type looking?
No, they were just kind of normal. I mean, they could have been college students, or they could have been workers, or whatever. I just don't know.
And so there
and
was
I don't
no
understand how I don't understand how they got away.
No, I mean, there's got to be a hospital.
There's only two roads out of Malibu.
They never found him. The case was never solved.
Never solved.
And you hit them. You physically hit their body with some bullets.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Each one of them at least twice.
Now, all the cops got to do is wait at the hospital for them to show up.
Well, then on the other hand, number one, if they were criminals, they had people they could go to, or they may have been connected with people who could supply that for them. You just never know. They never found the car. They never found anything. And I blew all the windows out.
Right. Wow, man, what an amazing story. Thank you
very
much, Bob, for putting that down here. So those people that come to the end of the show, man, they got a cherry on top of this one. Woohoo!
No, it's just something that happened in my life, and I'm just thankful that none of my family and myself were hurt at all.
Right.
But if I hadn't had the training that I had in the military, and counterintelligence, and the mental wherewithal to defend myself, and having the plan that these kind of things could happen, and had armed myself, I lived in California for 36 years. There was never a day that I never illegally carried a gun. And sometimes I'd have 2 or 3 of them. And I had to use them 4 times.
God.
And that's why I'm so happy about concealed carry, because now if you get attacked and you shoot somebody, you're not shooting them without a license or illegal situation. You can defend yourself now. But in those days, you couldn't. And I didn't care. I was under heat from the government all the time. I had all kinds of things happen to me. Now you know why I don't live in the United States.
All right, that's fine. I live in Nevada. So you can get a license here, carry concealed. It's good in 8 states just by being here. But go next door to California. No, you can't get one. In the metropolis areas like San Francisco, they don't give them out to anyone. Only special cases. So I'm totally with you on that. And my Browning is my favorite gun. I have a 9mm. I got an old one, a Fabrique Nationale Browning, and 9mm.
I got about 10 of those.
I love it. It's from 1955. It's a relic, but it points really well. All I know is this gun, when I point
the balance.
Yeah.
The balance is fantastic. That's why I don't like the Beretta, because it's tip heavy, and you always have to push the weapon and the barrel higher because it's top heavy. A lot of people don't look at it that way, but I do.
No, I had a 92F. I got rid of it. Bottom line, you want to hit the target, man, and I figured I have my best chance to do that with the Browning. So yeah, but the 45.
One of the problems with the 9mm slug is I've seen people who have gotten shot 5 and 10 times, and they're still not dead.
Right.
You really need a larger bullet, or a more high-powered bullet than I was using, and I like the 357. That's the wheel gun, but I like the 357 auto even better, along with the 45. Those two, and I prefer the 357 because you don't get the muzzle jump that you do with the 45, and you get approximately the same results when you have to make a hit.
Well, that's a good point. So do you mean 357 revolver, or you said 357 automatic?
No, they automatic. Yeah.
Who puts that out?
Sig Sauer.
Oh.
It's been out for about 10 years. I have several of them.
Yeah, that's true. You get a lot of jumpity with the 45 as it does its thing. So that's a good point.
Even if the power, it all depends on what you're firing. They got light slugs nowadays for the 45. You're getting 2,200 feet per second muzzle velocities. I don't know what the hell they're manufacturing, but the carbine. This is not a pistol. This is not a 45. Carbine is a special shell that goes out at 2,400 feet per second. Well, an M1 Garand and a 308 goes out at 2,800. So if you get a 45 going out at 220, that's really powerful. I used to reload and get my 357 Smith & Wesson reloads leaving the barrel at 1,600 feet per second, and I was always afraid I'd blow the gun up.
Yeah.
I really know guns, let me tell you.
Well, those are my two favorite guns. A good 45. I used to have the lightweight Commander, so it was a pretty good little gun, compact and light, and it didn't have all that clackety clack on the full 1911. But I would still say my favorite is that Browning, man. If that's the one I keep under the pillow type thing, that's my baby. I think.
Yeah, that's the one you make your hits with. There's no question. It's a beautiful balance. Fabrique Nationale were the first, and then to make it, and then that was taken over by the Germans in 1939-40, and the Germans carried P-38s and Lugers for the most part. The P-30 was a very good gun, but the Luger was always malfunctioning. Never liked them. Never carried.
Yeah, they look cool, but they're functional. They're too much of a Swiss clock or something. What about as far
they're
as
too
rounds?
tight.
Yeah. That's where the 45 in that war was the best handgun, I think, because it was in those kind of conditions of the mud and the dirt and everything. It could handle getting a little bit gumming up. Did you ever mess around with the Glazer safety slug or any of those nylon tipped or any of those other specialty rounds?
No, I haven't.
Just like straight hardball coming out of your guns then, or what?
Usually, with the 9, I always use hollow points, and you don't need them with the 45. The 357 auto, I use standard, but the muzzle velocity is about 1,700 feet per second. I mean, you hit somebody with that, they're going down. And, that's one of the things about firefights. If you're going to shoot somebody, you got to get them down. And if you get around, it's not going to take them down. There's no use in shooting them. I mean, you shoot to kill. You shoot because you have to.
Well, that brings it. Here's a real case. When I came, my neighborhood I grew up in, I had a lot of. I wasn't totally hardcore like that my friends were. My friends are really hardcore, super hardcore, and so there was this one incident where my buddy, he was playing around with a 9 and stuff like that. He had, and so he went up to where his girlfriend was staying with this other dude. We were like 16, 18 years old, and so he went up there. And the other guy was had a revolver, like a 38 revolver. Anyway, so my buddy goes up to his house and he says, "Hey, my girl's gonna come with me." And he's all, "No." And so he comes down to the car with the gun and starts, playing, showing it. And then he puts one round through the passenger window where my buddy Jerry was there. And my buddy Jerry ducked at the right moment and it went through the car. So that's my friend Linwood. He got up,
Crazy.
He got out of the car, and he started shooting at the guy. But his gun jammed. His 9mm jammed. And but he did hit the guy one time. So what happened was, the guy went down, but he still had his gun with rounds in it. And then but Linwood's gun jammed, so he couldn't finish him off. So what he did is he grabbed the guy's gun, who was there bleeding to death basically, and he finished him off with his own gun. And then they took the gun up to my house and tried to sell it to me. They're not telling me the whole story. They're like, "Hey, do you want to buy a gun? It's like $20. I was all, "Well, you could put it over here under the stairs, and I'll think about it, And so they were all, "Oh, cool." And then pretty soon I found out everything would happen and everything like that. And so that was one example of the stuff that used to go on in my neighborhood and stuff like that. The guy was killed with his own gun. And that's where an example of my point is that, a revolver will always discharge. There's no jam-ups. What do you say to that? I mean,
Well, I think it's a very salient point. You can use a revolver as a backup, and you got to have a longer barrel, either 4 5/8 or 6-inch, but you need firepower, and you can carry 6 clips pretty easily. That's 42 rounds in a 45 auto, which and it's not cumbersome. So you carry a 45 as your first weapon, 357 4 5/8 inch backup, and then you use your AR M16, whatever it is, as your primary weapon of defense. And everybody, if you're going to use that, and you have to use it, have 10 30-shot clips fully loaded that are accessible to you. Because if you're in a firefight, you will expend them within 5 minutes. And that's on semi-automatic.
And so that's what, like 6 rounds is probably not going to cut it unless you're like a really good shot from a revolver. So
besides that, it'll only allow you time to run away. Because if the other guy's got a better piece of ordnance, you don't want to be there. There's nothing wrong with running away. It beats being dead.
And ultimately, it's best to have the rifle there because it will go through the bulletproof vest. Still, the vests they put out nowadays are really good at stopping handgun rounds, right?
That's correct.
So
what you really have to do with pistols and handguns, you have to go for headshots.
Yeah, and that's a hard target, man.
Well, if you're good, it isn't. But if you're not good, and one of the things you got to remember, when you're under fire, your adrenaline goes ape. It goes crazy. And you start shaking, as you're shooting. And after it's over, it's 10 times worse. And people don't realize that. Ask a veteran who's been in combat, they'll tell you. It's not things they like to talk about. But
you're trembling.
It's a normal human condition. What's that?
What do you think is the best, assault type, rifle to own, including the European ones, which are quite, fine guns, for a rifle? I'm
really not up on them over the last 10 years because I've been living outside the United States, and I haven't kept close to the newer weapons, so I really can't say. I know what I like about what I own and have owned, but that's where it ends. Unfortunately, I can't do everything.
I know. Oh, Bob, well, this has been an extra special bonus 20 minutes of Bob Chapman on the show today, and I'm telling you, it was well worth it, man. Thank you so much,
Let me
Bob,
tell you
for sharing
something.
with us.
If I don't get out, my wife's going to kill me. I got so much work to do here.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
So I'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And there was the legend, my main man Money, Bob Chapman.